The broad topic of today's TED Talk is admiring excellence. And there are so many ways to interpret that word, right? Brilliance, distinction, value, worth, talent. But my question to you is, once you know why you're excellent, how do you become successful? In other words, our subtopic is, okay, you're talented, now what? So I'm gonna run you by some of my steps for understanding how to bring your excellence out into the world. We start up here, your ideology and your belief. Now, I want you to throw away all previous notions you have of success and understand with me for a second that success as a word is extremely problematic. What does it mean to be successful? Has anyone ever heard of Icarus? He's a character from Greek mythology, and long story short, he flew too close to the sun and got burnt out. So the moment you feel like you've reached your pinnacle, you're soaring in the sky, leaving everyone beneath you, is probably a moment you've left out, an opportunity you've left out to better yourself. Success is a process of progress. For me, I think success is something I'll achieve probably once I'm on my deathbed. I'll look back and I'll realize, maybe, Tarana, you've done what you wanted to do in life. Maybe life was in the journey of it. Maybe success was in the journey of it. That brings us here, to the heart. Why do we as artists do what we do? Why do artists make art? What makes us special? And the answer is so simple, it's almost brilliant. It's love. My relationship with music is probably the purest form of love I can even understand. Music saves me from my demons. To further that responsibility, it makes me want to do the same for other people. So I feel like when I write, I'm trying to help other people. I'm trying to uplift other people. As a child, I faced a lot of family issues, which translated into social anxiety. From school through college, I felt like a complete misfit. I isolated myself, outcasted myself, really drove myself into a corner. But music gave me a creative voice. Music taught me discipline. Music taught me how to respect other people and their time. Music taught me that I could have friends and a family, and some of my family is going to be speaking after me today. When I compose, I feel like I'm attaining a certain level of spirituality. Sometimes I feel like it's not even me that's writing. It's not me that's composing. It's something that's external, an external force that writes through me. And that force, that strong force, is something I want you to be able to tap into, which is why I can't stress enough how important it is for you guys to do what you love. You must love what you do and do what you love. And you must love your art. And art doesn't have to mean music. Art can be engineering, art can be medicine, art can be cooking, art can be cleaning. The philosophy remains the same. Love is the strongest life force in the universe. And love powers art. Isn't that perfect? Isn't that beautiful? This brings me to my next step, which is in persevering. And this is a word my father taught me when I was 6 or 7 years old. That's me, looking like a complete idiot. I was 6 years old and I was performing a song called Fior Elise. It's a Western classical piano piece. I performed in front of thousands of people at Tom Lee Auditorium in Canada. My father used to take me out for walks and tell me, Tarana, if you want the entire world to know who you are, Tarana, if you want the world to know your voice, there's only one way to do it. And I asked him, what do I have to do? And he told me, you have to persevere. What does that even mean? What does perseverance mean? Does it mean hard work? Is that all that perseverance is? He told me stories of girls who slept with violins under their pillows. He told me stories about boys who loved music more than food. And then I realized that if you want something and if you love something, you have to really, really push yourself and challenge yourself for it. And I did that. I'm 22 now. It's been quite a bit. It's been a long time. And I know that I have pushed myself through some of the most difficult times in my life, probably even more so when I felt like things were chaotic and things were unbearable. And I've failed many times, and I've learned, and I've healed. But at the end of it, what I've understood and what I've learned is that you have to keep trying. Opportunities are not going to present themselves to you. You have to run after them. You have to want them. You have to really, really, really want them. You have to ask for what you want, because it's actually quite amazing. And this is something I've learned throughout the years. When you ask for something, it doesn't matter how big a person is or how much he's achieved or who he is in the world. If you ask for something, even as university students or a school kid or a budding musician, if you ask for something and you really want it and you're willing to work to get it, you will get it. You have to start with that belief. You will get what you want if you ask for it. This brings me to the fourth step, and this is probably the most important step in understanding success and understanding how to get there. And that is originality. What does it mean to be you? Who are you? What is your voice? What is your story? Cobain was depressed. The Beatles were druggies. Me? That's me. My project is called Komorebi. It's a Japanese word that means sunlight that filters through tree leaves. As a child, I used to watch anime with my brother. Anime is a type of Japanese art. Has anyone seen anime? Does anyone watch anime? There you go. There you guys are. You're the nerds in the house. I used to watch a lot of anime with my brother, and we used to watch anime beyond our bedtime before sleeping. And I was so blown away by the soundtracks. I would sing it going to sleep. I would wake up in the morning humming it. I would follow around my parents and keep singing it all day long and irritate everyone. And then I realized that, this is something I might want to get into later. And Komorebi is a product of that. It's a product of my childhood. It's a product of things I used to listen to. It's a product of everything that shapes me. I'm weird. I'm quirky. My music is also weird and quirky. It's electronic, minimalistic music based on Japanese animation, because I'm so obsessed with Japan. I'm actually going to share a slight bit of my music with you right now. It's a song called Miyazaki's Dream, and it's my interpretation of what... Does anyone know Miyazaki? He's also a Japanese director. He writes beautiful animated movies, one of which is called Spirited Away. I think it received the most acclaim out of all of his movies. He just retired. But this is my interpretation of what Miyazaki's dream would be like. Okay, great sound system you have, guys. So that's my voice, and it's so important to know your voice, because the minute you feel like you need to tune into what the masses are thinking, the minute you feel like you have to stick too much to formula, the minute you worry too much about what other people want, is a loss for you. I think the people who have been legends and not sensations are people who are not afraid to embrace their excellence. There are people who are not afraid to tell their stories. There are people who really worked on themselves. They worked on what they fed into their brains and spat out to the world. They worked on their voice. So the thought I want to leave you with today is that if you're going to stick to formula, great one, good job. But if you're going to be unique, then you must be so impeccable that the form adapts itself to you. Thank you.
I believe teaching is a fascinating profession. I've had so many teachers in school and college, and we had this horrendous joke back in school. That this small group of us, thought of ourselves as outstanding students to these teachers because we spent most of our time standing outside class because we were thrown out for either talking too much or either not paying attention during our classes. And I think the primary reason that this happened with us is because I never really felt a connection with what these teachers were trying to convey to me during their classes. I can, however, think of maybe a select few teachers, and I can count them on one hand, who have truly touched me. Let me rephrase that, sorry. Who have truly inspired me. This list includes my mother, who I had the wonderful fortune of studying under when I was in college in first year, and my music teacher, Mr. Manoj Maveli. And this got me thinking, why is it that there are only a few people whom I can count on one hand, who have taken me on a journey through their lectures and their teachings, who have managed to paint pictures with their words, and who have managed to open my eyes to something that I never thought, I would be able to think of. And I realized that the reason that this happens is because these people have managed to embody what they do. They managed to embody their craft. They've managed to take something like teaching and, in other words, make that lecture into a form of art. I think this truly inspires me as an artist because I have now come to believe that artistry can exist in any form of profession, in any professional avenue. And it's the process of unraveling that artist within yourself that you truly, you truly find your uniqueness and your voice. My father he used to love music. And I remember when I was 5 or 6 years old, he used to sit me down and he used to play some of his favorite music. And he was in love with a lot of different kinds of music. Like he used to listen to Afro-Cuban music and Latin music, and he used to listen to reggae and Indian classical music, and I loved it all. I think my connection with music actually started there. That's when I actually fell in love with many different kinds of music. And unfortunately, my father's health began deteriorating very soon after that. And when I was in India and he was in England, that's where he was teaching, he decided to send me a very personal gift. He made me a little mixtape. In those days, you could play CDs, and in the same music system, you could record onto cassettes. So my father sent me this cassette all the way from England, which is filled with some of my favorite songs. And in between each of these songs, he recorded his own voice, explaining to me why he had chosen these songs and why it is that those songs reminded him of me. I was obsessed with this cassette because it not only had my favorite music, but it reminded me of him, and I hadn't seen him in years. So I used to take this in my little Walkman, walk around the place, holding my mom's hand in the market. Completely zoned out. I almost got hit by a truck once because I was sitting there with my headphones and, walking down the road and didn't realize what was happening around me. Don't listen to music, guys. While we're walking on the road or crossing the road, never do that. That's where my road in the field of arts began. My mother and my stepfather now are extremely supportive people. And I remember shortly after this, my obsession or my complete craze for music slowly turned into a budding interest. And this interest kind of manifested itself in rhythm and in percussion. I don't know why, but I was totally obsessed with what drums could do to music. Not only what drums could do to music, but what drums was doing to me. And I realized it's a very primal form of expression. You hear a drum beat and you automatically want to move. You can't really help yourself. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, my mother has always been a very supportive, very open-minded person. So I remember when I was a little kid, she used to take me to a lot of Chinese restaurants. And this one time I remember I was sitting there and I'd finished my meal, and right beside me, beside my plate, I saw these two little chopsticks. And so I picked up one chopstick in one hand and the other one in the other hand. And for a second, I just had this flash where I saw myself sitting on this massive stage, absolutely captivated by my audience. And that was it for me, as a kid. I just decided to do a quick view of the room. I took those chopsticks, put them into my pocket, and bounced. I went back home. It was late at night, my mom was asleep, and I just arranged a few pots and pans, a little bit of CD covers, something, whatever I could find around me. And I started playing some of my favorite music and trying to replicate what those drum beats were, and trying to do what I could to do justice to those beats. And on one very embarrassing morning, my mom walked in on me doing this, And being the sweetheart that she is, she decided to play along with this little ritual. So every time she'd go to Chinese restaurants, she would flick a pair of chopsticks and she would bring it back to me as a souvenir and she'd say, here, now you can take it. We're a really weird family, clearly. But that stemmed into something which, which drove me forward, drove my interest in music forward. And my mom started realizing that, and that's when she realized that my interest had become more of a talent. She was able to tell that I had a certain knack for rhythm, and that I was very interested in actually pursuing something like that. So my mom got me my first drum set, and that was it. That was it for me. I've never looked back. I've been playing obsessively, constantly trying to figure out how to make myself do things that other people can't on the drums. And that's something that I've always been obsessed with, trying to make not only drums, but music sound a little different, a little unique, something that other people aren't able to do. So I used to be obsessed with trying to hit the drum a certain way, or trying to play with my hand, or do something that makes a sound that's unique, which I haven't heard in all these, your typical rock albums or your typical pop albums. And that was basically a stepping stone to how I got into what I do now, today. It's essentially what drives my art. What helps me focus on drumming is the fact that I am able to produce something that is unique to me. And that's why, till date, I haven't gotten bored of this instrument. It's something that keeps me going and keeps my heart pumping. And what I've learned from being an artist is that you essentially need to stand out. You essentially need to be the best possible you can be at that instrument. People actually have a really, really weird misconception when it comes to the artistic and the creative sphere. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of people that I've spoken to have this really strange image of artists as these, these really grimy, really like competitive people who are, right at the bottom over there, who have no idea where they're going in life, but they've kind of chosen to do something like painting or music. And so they're just a bunch of these long-haired guys who don't know where they're going, or clueless girls who don't know where they're going. It's become this weird stereotype. And now I've never considered myself part of this stereotype, or I've never seemed to have embodied this stereotype. That's me, in case you guys have no idea. But despite what I looked like back then, this is, I think, 3 years ago, but despite what I looked like back then, there wasn't a single moment when I questioned what I was doing, when I questioned the fact that I had chosen this as a profession, or when I questioned this, or when I thought of myself doing this, I never hesitated even once. I have also worked. I played throughout college. I started playing semi-professional shows and professional shows, and when I started my post-graduation, it became even more intensive. So I was basically dividing my time between these two things, playing shows and recording at studios, and also working a job. And there came a time in those, that massive period of 8 months in my job, when I realized that I was doing too much, and I put one foot into something and one foot in the other, and I wasn't able to give my all in one specific place. And that's when I realized that I had to make a choice. And the reason why I chose music over what I was doing before that was because I realized that the artist in me was just not satisfied in that space, was just not satisfied with what that allowed me to do. And I realized that the artist in me truly belongs in music. Music is where the artist inside me essentially felt comfortable. And that's what brings me to my topic today. That's what inspired my topic today, which is whatever you do, whatever your profession is, however much you want to pursue something, always make sure that that artistic side of you is there. Because at the end of the day, you want to be something extraordinary. And what does extraordinary mean? It means something that is beyond ordinary. It means someone who is able to bring something new to the table, something that no one else has ever seen. You need to keep pushing your boundaries, and you need to keep motivating yourself to do that, and keep pushing and pushing. Unless it's illegal, that's when you stop pushing. But essentially what you need to do is understand that regardless of what you do, you're always going to have a set of boundaries. Do you guys agree? You'll always be working under someone. You'll have a boss. You'll have a designation that says, I am X, Y, Z. You'll have, even in the music industry, you have record labels that constantly keep tabs on what you're doing. You constantly have to make music for people, so you have to be attentive to your audience. But at the end of the day, that is exactly what, as an artist, you have to deal with. Those boundaries are things that are in place. Now, how you manipulate those boundaries and how you figure out how to deal with yourself within that to make something new and create something new within those boundaries, that's what makes you unique. People think of artists as, like I said before, these highly, eclectic, almost untrained group of people. This highly competitive space, like I said. But when you think about it, what sphere in your work or what profession is not competitive? Where do you not have people constantly trying to climb that ladder for success? It's everywhere. You cannot separate those two things. If you want to take up an art or something that, a profession that we don't consider quote unquote mainstream, you still have to work hard. You still have to go at it with everything you have, and you have to be passionate about it. You have to plan. You have to know exactly where you want to go with it. You can't go into it andha. People just go and your neighbor comes to your house and they're like, "Aapka beta kya karta hai?" Doctor hai. Wow. Engineer. Amazing. Lawyer, even better. Startup chalata hai. Oops. That's when you start going downhill. Musician hai, arranged marriage to bhuli jao. That's gone down the tubes. It's not going to happen. But why? We have, all of us, every single one of us has put in, and I'm talking about professional artists here. There might be some of you here, I'm not sure. But all of us put in so much into what we do. It takes years of training. I've been playing drums now. I've been a percussionist, a musician, for over 10 years now. I've been playing in the professional circuit for 8 years, and I'm still nowhere close to where I want to be. And no one is. But the fact that I am able to achieve small successes every day. A lot of people have spoken about this today. Even Tarana spoke about this. How success is something which, you can't quantify. It's something that keeps coming at you in doses, bits and pieces. And that's what I want to highlight here. I mean, every success that I've ever achieved in whatever years I've been playing now has been small things like being able to interact with the crowd, being able to see people move to what I am doing. That is a success to me. And those successes keep getting, bigger, that's a subjective thing. But at the end of the day, if you're able to do something that you love and you're able to convey that love to other people, I think you've achieved a level of success in whatever you do. And finally, basically, what I wanted to speak about was how, in this artistic sphere, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, be it you're all students here, and at the end of the day, if you're not doing something you're passionate about, there is no way you can unlock that artist within yourself. There will always be people putting designations on you, people telling you that your job is X, so you have to do Y. But that's something that society has forced us to do. I'm going to end by telling you that you need to not be defined by your work, but you need to define what you do. Thank you so much.